Well, I think this is a video that most of you really appreciate, and a few of you have been calling for, but these are the action shots of going around the outside round of this valley farm. This is not the whole farm. I did not cut it all down. I got about 50 acres down that did manage to get rained on. Now, when I picked this farm up last year, this was new seeding. This is all I cut was the field and the pasture. This ground was seeding, and typically all my farmer viewers, my retired farmers and current farmers alike, will realize that when you seed in a given year, that seeding typically doesn't look that hot. It looks kind of spindly, and you really don't have a pretty good idea, really all that good of an idea about what it's really going to do in the following years. So this stuff that I'm cutting right now is new seeding. This is the second year, or the first year after it's been seeded down last year. I did not seed it. I did not know the rates they put it down, but this stuff is incredibly thick, and I really didn't think it was. It wasn't until you can see right here, it wasn't until I actually started cutting it and made a few rounds around the outside to really get an appreciation for how heavy this stuff really is. It's not super tall. It's about as tall as the disc spine is, but it's thick. It's coming out the back of the machine pretty heavy. You can't quite hear a thud when it falls out the back, but I'm really happy with it. I'm disappointed that I got rained on, but that's not really anybody's fault but the weatherman. Yeah, I checked the weather a few times, several times, because, well, if it's too good to be true, don't believe it. This is when the roller coaster of the farm starts too. It was actually calling for 5 to 6 days of 70 to 90 degree weather days and sunshine. Well, that was too good to be true, and we got rain yesterday morning. And then the problem is, I want to go down and cut this stuff, or ted this stuff out. It's been 2 days since I cut it. Typically I would have tedded it yesterday, but the ground was just starting to get dried out by yesterday afternoon. So I was going to wait till today, check the weather forecast again, which it is starting to get cloudy, and I would actually like to go through and get it tedded out, but they're calling for strong storms tonight. I don't really want to have to go out and ted it out again if it gets pounded into the ground. I did leave as much stubble as I could, but the problem is, when this ground is as uneven as it is, I'm constantly, if you guys saw in the video last night where I was constantly adjusting that SCV, I was constantly raising and lowering the cutter bar, the header tilt, because if I didn't, I was cutting into the ground in some parts of the field, just because if the tractor is dropping down and the disc spine is far enough back where you're on a hill, the disc spine will actually drop enough that the teeth, the blades, will drop into the ground. Not like right there, that was actually reseated this spring because it had a ditch in it. So that's that. I'm starting to realize a little bit. It's not like I didn't realize. I'm fully aware of everything that's going on, but as far as machinery goes, kind of realizing that bigger machinery is starting to become a little bit more necessary. The 76 has always been my go-to. We used to have a 7400 back when my grandpa was here before his estate auction. I used to run this machine on the 7400, and all of our rolling hills, our contours, it was fine. The 7600, it's 140 horse. It's more powerful than the 7400 was. But I'm definitely was noticing that on these sills, the camera doesn't really give these justice, but horsepower and front end weight are definitely a thing. Almost to the point where I'm thinking about putting a few more weights on the front of the 76. Problem is, I really can't do much about horsepower, and I really wasn't going that fast, and I was having a little bit of issues with the disc spine. I put all new blades on it, I greased it, it is ready to go back to the field. I did that last night before I unhooked it, but I was noticing that on the far right side of the machine, so far away from the camera right now, I was getting a lot of material that was actually bunching up on the far end, and it wasn't wanting to feed through. I do have that conditioning plate over the flails backed all the way off. So basically it's cutting it and just spitting it out the back. But I was still having flow through problems, and the best way I could alleviate that is I started going back and forth on these. This is the long stretch right here. I just started going back and forth where I could on this, and that allowed me to speed back up to, I think, about 7.5 miles an hour. Not, land speed record, but the ground is rough. I mean, I've said it before, I need a land roller and I can start rolling some of our hay ground, but 7 miles an hour for this down here, for how heavy this stuff is, I'm happy with it. It's a lot. There's a lot more grass there than I thought there was. There's a bit of clover in it. It's going to make nice feed. Planning on, depending on what it looks like after we go through and get it baled, if we can get it baled, it'll probably be fed to my cows, and whatever else I can get made afterwards, I'll probably try to focus on that for production hay. This could surprise me. I mean, but I do need, miles will figure about 150 bales to be safe, because I have to feed my cows. I'm keeping heifers back, so my hay needs, my feed needs are going to increase over time, and which is why I picked up this farm. I wanted to have cattle, but I also needed to have a place where I could produce the feed. I like this place as far as a hay farm. The landlords, I raised soybeans on it. Ryan actually has video on how farms work way back in 15 or 16 of us raising soybeans down here. They did all right, but to be honest with you, row crops are a hassle down here. I saw over a dozen deer that came out when the sun really started to go down. This is a deer farm, it really seems like, and it's an awesome hay farm. The ground conditions that are here, the soil that is here, is really nice for making hay. I got all the ground in the bottom yet that I'm hoping I can get made before July. I'm not gonna lie, I'm already mildly concerned that might just be a 2-cut program instead of a 3-cut program. I don't have the sprayer up and running yet, but the plan is to definitely come down and get some fertilizer back on everything that I cut, to get my second cut coming back, because I'm highly unlikely, but if I can get my following cuts to come out as heavy as this stuff is, I mean, I'd be, well, more than satisfied. But I'm also managing it heavily too to do that. So as far as a bigger disc vine, I don't really know if I'd want a bigger one. This one is 11.5 feet. My friend Ryan has a 13 foot, and he pulls that with a 4430. But the thing is, for how uneven the ground is, and for some of the places that I get in with this, I don't know if I'd really want a wider one. I could definitely say that I wouldn't mind even going the route of getting another one and running 2. And that way you have an option. I mean, it isn't necessarily an equipment issue that, just because you have 2 that you'll be able to run 2, like 2 machines. It's almost where you need to have one really efficient machine so one person can do it, because like I said, I was alone. No one else was around when I was cutting this today, and it's the same thing like with when it comes to tedding or raking. I'm not guaranteed to have people around to help. So it does kind of turn into where you need, when you are upgrading machinery, to buy the bigger machinery that you can, or biggest that you can really afford. Even though your operation isn't super huge, but we are growing, we're adding acres year over year, and it's just one of those things where purchase the biggest machinery that you can afford, that you can cash flow, so that way if you are running alone, you're still able to get your work done, which is huge, especially when it comes to basically anything right now, just with the weather. I was just told that I may actually have to replant some soybeans because my soybeans got knocked back. It's not that they didn't emerge, it's because they got sprayed off. So I'm still a little irritated by that, because I literally just put the planter away a week ago. So there may be some replanting videos coming out. There may not be. Maybe I won't even film it, just because I gotta go to the hassle of getting the planter back out, switch over to beans, plant the beans, clean it back up, put it away, and you know what? I would almost rather just do it and get it done, because we have about 200 acres of hay, 150 or so acres of hay to cut yet and get made for first crop. Then I got to side dress, cultivate pretty much all the corn that I can get it drug across, while trying to get that stuff replanted. While what else do I have to do? Oh, I gotta get my dad's bull down to my place too, because people are asking me what I'm gonna do for a bull. I was gonna look for a red Angus this year, just because I'm pushed back so far, and I actually need a bull in with them yesterday. I'm just gonna use my dad's heifer bull. I mean, he bought that one back in August of last year. I'm gonna throw him in for a couple months, and that's just what I'm gonna use for a bull for now. And then I really do plan on buying a bull, a red one, for next year. I am very serious about expanding on the red herd that I can. So that's all I got. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch.